champions! Champions of Europe finally! History made in Istanbul! The treble complete!
History makers! For the first time ever, an English club have won 4 titles in a row!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Typical City. 3 points on the board. I don't want to get too down about winning a game of football, but we did get lucky. I know I'm already seeing you guys in the chat and respect your opinions, of course I do, to suggest that Brentford got lucky. I'm not sure I agree with that, in all honesty, to be honest. I think maybe if you're talking about the second half, Haaland hitting the post, there's an element of luck there, but they could have been 4-0 up before we even had a shot. Very easily. Very, very easily. And we were 1-0 down. It was a calamitous start to the game from John Stones and Ederson between the two of them. But ultimately, John Stones in that scenario. And he never really recovered until the second half, where John Stones cooled down a little bit. Pep obviously had a word with him at half-time to speak to him about it. But ultimately, that first half was a disaster. And there was a comment that, there it is, Bendiv. I just want to highlight that. Even though you think that Brentford were the lucky ones, I agree with the first half of your comment there, my friend, because the international break, it absolutely does play a part in the flow of the team. I completely agree with what you've said there, and that is probably a lot of what that first half was. When you factor in the lack of Brentford players that actually went away on international duty, some, but not to the level of Manchester City. So I feel like they probably had a fresher feel going into it. They had been playing reasonable football. They were 6th in the table. I don't know what the league table looks like now after these games, but I know before this game they were 6th in the table, and for good reason, having won 2 of their 3 Premier League games, 3 in 4 in all competitions, having beaten Colchester in the League Cup as well, and they lost away to Liverpool, which I was going to say there's no shame in that, but unlike fucking Nottingham Forest had something else to say about that today. So hey, who gives a shit if you're lucky? I don't care about being lucky, and honestly, we were, but you take it. The season's full of luck. Everyone has moments of luck. Everyone. But we got off to a really, really sloppy start in that game today, and I felt like it could well be the kick up the backside that we need, because it felt like the season was going too well. Do you know what I mean? When you have that feeling like you're suspicious, something's odd here, everything's going incredibly well. Gundogan's come back, we've signed Savinho, Arsenal have lost Declan Rice, and now Odegaard as well is injured, so that's a definite bonus for Manchester City, because that's a problem, because he could be out for the City game. Obviously, we're winning all our games, and comfortably. Haaland scoring 7 goals. It's all going very well. And then that first half was a real reminder of what the Premier League can do to you. In an instant, it just felt totally different. The seasons felt like, well, this is game on now, isn't it? If Liverpool go and pick up 3 points, which they didn't, I want to remind everybody, they didn't. But Arsenal may well go and beat Spurs tomorrow, and then you're starting to look like that title race that we saw last season, with Arsenal being the main threat, Liverpool being a consistent threat until about 10 games to go. Could well be that. Could well be that. But the first half just felt ropey against Brentford this morning. But I'm pleased with how we came out and steadied the ship. Because that ship was like fucking all over the place, man. And we were rocking. The boat was rocking in that first half. I thought Kyle Walker struggled. John Stones has taken a lot of the flack off me in this game. I felt like he was the poorer of the two. I felt like Kyle Walker didn't do very well in the first half, other than a moment that actually got us the equaliser. You could argue there was even an element of luck to our first goal, because it was lucky how it broke to Haaland. De Bruyne was tackled. It was poked through the legs of Kevin De Bruyne. He got the ball. It was Kyle Walker with a great pass inside. I say a great pass, I don't want to over-egg it too much, but it was a nice ball from Walker into Kevin De Bruyne. At this point, De Bruyne's got the ball at his feet, and he takes a half second too long on it, and I think the Brentford player poked it between his legs. The ball breaks to Haaland, and Haaland swivels in an instant and bang, hits that corner. Not only was it lucky how it broke to Haaland, it was deflected on the way in. So I don't want to be too down and things, but there was a big slice of luck there for Manchester City today. A big slice of luck, and that was to get it at 1-1. Nothing lucky about the second goal, though. Fantastic. Ederson with an assist. Seems to be that compulsory 1 assist per season that Ederson gets. Or he starts to get goals now, hasn't he? He's already got a goal in the penalty shootout this season, so maybe he's going to score a goal like in open play at some point. He's going to do it in some point in his career. He has to. He's going to come up, bicycle kick, 115th minute. Ederson wins the game. It's going to be something mental like that, Ederson. But anyway, fantastic ball over the top. We've seen it time and time and again, even before the Haaland days. Aguero against Huddersfield about 5 years ago. I remember it. Ederson, boom, over the top. Aguero gets the ball, turns, puts it into an almost half-empty net. I remember it really well. Haaland scored a goal against Forest last season with a ball over the top. Again today, Pinnock. The intelligence of Erling Haaland in that situation is what I really want to speak about, as well as the fact that this man has gone onto the pitch with what's gone on in his personal life recently, having lost a loved one, rest in peace, and gone onto the pitch and won the game for Manchester City, been the difference maker once again. The guy's an inspiration, to me at least. He might not be to you, but he inspires me, and he should have inspired the rest of that Manchester City squad. Because, I mean, I don't know what their personal circumstances are. The other 10 players on that pitch, they may have had personal mental situations in their own personal lives going on, but we all know what has happened to Erling Haaland recently. He's taken to Instagram to let us know what an important figure this man was in his life. And he's gone on in a Premier League game and he's scored 2 goals again, and he was 1 goal away and 1 strike of the post, 1 centimetre away from becoming the first player in the history of the Premier League to get 3 back-to-back hat-tricks. 3 consecutive hat-tricks. Absolutely sensational. And on the back of what's gone on in his personal life, it's just phenomenal. He's the difference maker. Without his goals against Ipswich, I mean, it's stupid to think of football like this, because the game would have been different. There would have been a different player on instead of Haaland if Haaland wasn't playing. So the game could have still well been won without Haaland. But while he's on the pitch, he is the difference maker. Without his goals, the game finishes 1-1. Without his goals against West Ham, we lose 1-0. Without his goals today, we lose the game 1-0. He is the difference maker. He's unbelievable. He's unbelievable, and he's such a reassuring figure however you get your starting 11 news on your phone, on your PC, or even if you just wait to see what happens when they announce it at the game. When you hear his name or read his name is in the starting 11, there's just an element of inevitability to it, isn't there? There's almost like, we're going to win. He's going to score. He's going to score some goals, and we're probably going to win. And it was fantastic. So, I thought Akanji was all right in that back line. I thought he didn't play badly. I thought the shape of the back line was wrong. It didn't seem right at all. And I think Pep, we need to point the finger at Pep for this one, because I feel like he's been a little bit overly aggressive with his changes. And it didn't work in the first half at all. I thought they were all over the place, Manchester City. I thought Rico Lewis at left back, inverting, just didn't come naturally to him. It's already a difficult position for him because he's a right footer playing left back. That in itself makes it a difficult job. To ask him to be a right-footed fullback playing left back and also invert into, still on the left side of the pitch, of course, because you're not going to invert across Kovacic and go onto the right side of Kovacic, are you? You're going to stay to the left of him to make the job, the transition between positions, easier. And it wasn't easy for him. He struggled, and they kept coming down that right-hand side in that first half, which is why Pep, fairness to Pep, big thumbs up to Pep, he made the changes at half-time. Aggressive. I've not seen Pep make 2 changes at half-time, especially when we're winning. We were winning. If that's not an indication that we got away with it, I don't know what is. That's a real indication that Pep got it wrong. He probably held his hands up. The substitutions are an admission of that. He got it wrong. And I'm sure he'll be the first to admit that. But the man, he didn't have any ego. He didn't go, no, my way's the right way. He held his hands up, made the changes that were necessary. And we won the game. That's what Pep's all about. And that's why I love him. And I mean, it was fantastic eventually to get the 3 points. But ultimately, there was glaring opportunities in that first half for Brentford that we can't ignore. That it was old patterns of last season rearing their ugly head again. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined me, by the way, in this stream as well. Good to see you as well. Please hit that like button. We've got 50 likes and nearly 250 watching. Please get those like buttons up if you can, please. It massively, massively helps. But Haaland again, the difference maker. What did you think of Gundogan? I thought in the second half, there was a little 10-minute spell in the second half where his game went up a level, but I mean, it was quite a low level, I thought. I thought he looked struggled. Him and De Bruyne, by the way. De Bruyne didn't have a great game. But there was a 10-minute spell in about the 70th minute to the 80th minute where City thought, let's go and get that third. They were really strong about it, and there was a moment where, and that's where the Haaland hit the post. It might have just come after the 80th minute, actually, but we played some good football in that second half in a small spell, but it wasn't dominant. I'm going to get the stats up now because I don't know what they are. Just bear with me. There you go. That's an indication. 54% we had the ball in this game at home to Brentford with Kevin De Bruyne, with Ilkay Gundogan and Kovacic on the pitch. We had 54% possession. That midfield should be holding the ball way better than 54%. Knowing the tactics that we employ, knowing the way we can hold the ball, and knowing we normally break the 60% mark against everybody, most teams, to become a 50-50, almost 50-50 game, 55-46 in terms of possession, very unlike City. 18 shots to their 8, 5 on target to our, for Brentford, 7 on target for Manchester City. So our passing accuracy dropped into the 80s as well, with 89. And we looked frustrated. We looked frustrated throughout this game. Lots of little glimpses of moments of players getting annoyed and Gundogan pulling shirts and a lot of arm throwing, and it was just frustrating. It was a frustrating game, but I can't stress enough that the 3 points is what matters, really, and maintaining and creating a gap between first and second is what we've done. And this is the sort of performance, and these are the standards now at Manchester City, because if this was an Arsenal win, I'm telling you right now, if Arsenal had won this game in this manner, the media fucking wankfest over Arsenal would have been, well, that's the sign of champions. That's what champions do. They win when they're playing badly. They still win. And there's an element of truth to that, but that's the standards at City. We future-proof ourselves. We think about the next game, because if you play like this against Inter Milan, you don't win. Simple. You play like this against Arsenal, you do not win. And that's what I'm talking about, is why I'm talking about this game in a reasonably negative light, because there was definitely things that could be improved, and that's what I'm focusing on. And I'm just thinking about the future games and things that we can work on, which is why I'm talking about it in a negative light, even though we've won. And they're the standards at this club now, and I think the fans need to hold the club to some reasonably standards, but also remember that 3 points is what matters at the end of the day. And like, I can't remember who it was it Bendive, who said at the beginning, international break. I completely neglected that at the start of this video, to be honest, and it's a valid point. It really is. The international break does disrupt the flow of the team and the momentum of the team, and I completely agree. I disagree with the point that he made on the end of that Brentford got lucky. I don't see, other than Haaland hitting the post, where were they unlucky? Other than Haaland hitting the post to make it 3-1, at what moment were they unlucky? Sorry, lucky. What am I talking about? Lucky. I don't feel like there was an element of luck for Brentford at all. Yeah, last season I was a big defender of him. Kart Ikai, if that's not how you pronounce it, Kart Ikai. Sounds good, actually. That sounds like a cool way to say it. Kart Ikai. I hope I pronounced it right. Anyway, views on Walker. Last season, I felt like he was harshly treated by City fans. This season, I think he's living up to this performance and the end of last season. I felt like Walker started to live up to that level of criticism. He was making mistakes. There was a 1-2 that I went mental at in the first half. 1-2. Getting done with a 1-2 is basic stuff. Basic stuff. And it was on the halfway line where, I can't remember who it was. Was it Keane Lewis Potter, who had a great game, by the way. He was turning Walker inside out in that first half. And he did a 1-2. Really simple stuff. Just like Walker sprinting towards him, just fell for it. It was so obvious. Fell for it. Sprints at Keane Lewis Potter. Lays it off inside to, I think, Norgard, who lays it into a very simple triangle around Kyle Walker that was so basic. And he fell for it. And he got done with a 1-2. A couple of moments where John Stones and Kyle Walker, I think in the first half, there was a moment where Akanji had to sprint back and do a slide tackle to get it back to Ederson. There was time for Ederson to play it first time to John Stones, and he did. He played it into John Stones. John Stones takes it away. John Stones has got time. He's got Kyle Walker he could pass to. And you could see immediately the confidence wasn't there in either John Stones or Kyle Walker's positioning. If that's last season, or the season before in particular, John Stones, treble-winning John Stones was like a phenom. But today, John Stones was like his fucking long-lost twin. Like, no confidence at all on the ball. He was taking little steps, panicking. And then he just gave it to Walker, like, really, when Walker wasn't set to receive it. Walker then panics and gives it him back. And then the ball, like, bobbles off John Stones and goes up in the air. And it's like, oh, my God, what are we doing here? Like, it was a disaster on that side of the defence in the first half. Eventually, there was no real problems between either of them in the second half. I must stress that. I don't think Kyle Walker had a bad game in the second half. And I don't think John Stones had a bad game in the second half. But there was so much damage. Could have been way worse in that first half. Edison had to tip one when it hit the bar. He said he didn't actually touch it. It went onto the bar, but it looked like he tipped it over. That was another opportunity for Brentford. There was a moment where Mbeumo went through on goal, and Rico Lewis had to get back and prevent. That could have been 2-3, maybe even 4-0. There were opportunities, and then there was Lewis Potter having a shot at the near post. Edison punching it away. Chances, mate. For Brentford, big chances. So I'm sorry, City got lucky. The first half in particular, okay? So I understand that if you want to talk about the game in respect of the second half, we did enough to win the game in the second half, I think, just about. Because we didn't really have to struggle with any counter-attacking opportunities. There was a half chances for Brentford. One moment that really worried me was when Mbeumo went through the middle of our defence again, and he chose the wrong option. He had Shader who'd come on for him on the right of him, but he chose to play it to Lewis Potter, who was going down the left-hand side, and then Lewis Potter just screws his cross, which looked like he was trying to find Shader, out for a goal kick. If he just had his head screwed on at that point and Mbeumo and just lays it into Shader at that point, he's got a one-on-one situation and could very easily have been 2-2. But game management came into play. Rodri came on, it steadied the ship. Kovacic obviously had it. I think, like I said in the watch long, Pep had his mind up for him because of the yellow card. I think it was a more difficult decision to bring on Rodri for Kovacic because positionally Kovacic was struggled in this game, but I feel like that's because Rico Lewis was also struggling positionally because Rico's men are tuck in alongside Kovacic, and it helps the midfield in not getting numbers either side of Kovacic. But there was moments where Rico was well out of position, didn't know really where to place himself, and the ball was so constantly being turned over, which is a problem for Rico Lewis because we need to establish control, and then Rico knows, right, now I know my role. I've got to get into midfield and help them out. But the ball was being constantly turned over in that game, so sloppy from both sides at times. In the midfield, it was really, really sloppy. And that resulted in Lewis just being in and out, not knowing what to do. But Rodri came on and he shored it up. And I was really, really pleased with Rodri's performance. Good to see him come on. And I mean, going forward, yeah, I still think Kovacic is a quality player. He's not had the greatest half of football in that first half. His yellow card, by the way, was Kyle Walker's fault, to be honest. The throw-in to him was why, because it was a throw-in from Kyle Walker that was like that awkward height, like knob height to control. No one wants to control a football with their penis, Kyle. Throw it to his foot or his chest. Do you know what I mean? Like, give him a chance to control it. And then Kovacic had this nightmare throw-in to deal with, lost it, turned round, and then was chasing the player who broke away with it. It was Visa, wasn't it? Scythed him down, and actually did us a favour in the end. I'm sorry to be brutal and sound a bit heartless, but injuries to key players on the opposition side tend to benefit the other side. And that's exactly what we got. Visa had to go off injured, thanks to Kovacic. So it was a worthy yellow card in the end. And it also meant Rodri could come on, and Pep had a very simple decision. You're coming off, mate, because you're on a yellow card. Can't risk you getting suspended, because we need these players. But I'm trying to think of anyone else. So Gundogan, I thought he could have done better. I don't think he had a stinker. I don't want to get too harsh on him, because he's just coming back. But he was anonymous in the first half. And there was moments where I felt like he just could have done better in the second half. And that age-old debate could resurface again. And I felt like they put that to bed in our treble-winning season. But prior to our treble-winning season, the debate, can Gundogan and De Bruyne play together, was an old debate that I think was killed in that season. Not many City fans spoke about that in that season because they played together and they were fucking brilliant and they won the treble. So there's no reason why they can't do it again. But it didn't work today. It didn't work today at all. It didn't work well. And I feel like Bendiv may have said in the beginning, that international break may have played a part. But yeah, Blues, thanks so much for joining me in the chat. We've got Douglas in here as well. Michael as well. Good to see you as well. Clara, also Haaland scored his 99th goal. Was that his 99th? What, in all competitions for Manchester City? That's insane. He's already got 99? No way. I don't trust the chat anymore because of what was happening in recent watch-alongs. You're all conning me. But you all had me going. I thought you were lying with the 1-0 Nottingham Forest, and that sounds pretty stupid. 1-0 Nottingham Forest at Anfield. That's insane. In 103 appearances as well. Insane. Big up Section 20 as well. And you put it together for me. There you go. 99 in 103 games. There you go. Unreal. Unreal. Oh, man. Who's next? Inter Milan going to get the 100th goal of Erling Haaland. And he loves the Champions League, doesn't he? He loves it. Savinho. That's a player I want to talk about. And the wingers, I've not mentioned them, have I? I felt like Grealish was okay in the first half. Okay, I felt like in the second half the old Grealish came about again. He started to frustrate me. In the first half, he was beating his man, and he did the right thing. And there was a spell that I was quite happy that we had Grealish on the pitch because, again, there was a moment in the second half where it was bitty, it was scrappy, and the ball was being turned over again too frequently. And a perfect player in a game like that is Jack Grealish because he prevents that ball from being turned over. You get it into him and City can set up a shape, an attacking shape, and pin Brentford into their final third. And he did that reasonably well. But there were still those moments from Jack Grealish where it was one-on-one with the fullback and it's like, go on Jack. And then it doesn't do anything. And then it's like an opportunity to cross the ball. It hits the Brentford defender. There was a moment where he hit the Brentford defender that's 5-10 yards in front of him or so. And Jack Grealish held his hands up and said sorry. So, I mean, he knows he should be doing better in those situations. But I would argue Savinho's crossing wasn't any better. And that's because he was on his right foot. He also walked off holding his hamstring as well, which is another concern because he's already picked up a knee injury. And now he's walking off holding his hamstring. I'm hoping we've not got an injury-prone Savinho here. But there is the spark in Savinho's play. There was moments where he was coming inside and drifting inside. And I cut that diving shit out, by the way. Cut that out. Not a fan of that. Don't want to see that. Yellow card, fully deserved. But cutting across the edge of the box, love that. Love that. And that shot went just past the post as well from Savinho. There was one from his right foot as well. I think that's what he's been working on. He's obviously been working on his right foot in training. Maybe that's why his hamstring's gone, because it was his right hamstring. But yeah, he still needs work, Savinho. I still feel like his crossing wasn't quite at it today. But there was the moments where he cuts inside and he was getting a shot away, and it was like, yeah, there you go. Very, very skillful moments that looked like they could cause massive problems. But he's got the safety blanket, again, something I said in the watch-along, the safety blanket of being a new signing. He's going to get protection from City fans, and me included, and rightly so, because he's a new signing. He's just walked into this team, which is not just any old team, it's a Pep Guardiola team, and it's the Premier League as well, so it's not just a new team, it's a new league. He needs time to find his feet. And I think he's found his feet reasonably well this season. I really do think he's found his feet incredibly well. But like Gvardiol last season, he too struggled in the first few months of the season. Then after Christmas, Gvardiol just exploded into this luxurious centre-back that was not only just like as solid as a rock, but he was finding the back of the net every other week, wasn't he? Like at one point, he was scoring goals for fun at the bloody Bernabeu, Gvardiol eventually, wasn't he? So, give him time. He'll find his feet, and I hope we'll be saying the same about Savinho, and I have a funny feeling we will, because there's an absolute special talent there, very, very special, that looks like he could go on. But today, again, right foot crosses, something I highlighted against Chelsea, needs to do better. Needs to do better with his right foot, because there was multiple opportunities, and it's just hitting the first man, and there's no excuse for that. I'd rather it cause bigger problems than that. I'd rather you overhit it than underhit it. It's ugly when it gets underhit, I'd rather you find a fucking Haaland, because then it's going to be a goal. If you found Haaland in the box and he gets on the end of it with a clean effort, most of the time that's going to end up a Manchester City goal. So, You know, it needs to work on that. But yeah, other than that, Ederson, he solid, did reasonably well. Couldn't do much about the first goal. Was it his fault for? No, John Stones was the one who connected with it. Maybe Ederson shouted, "My ball, leave it." And if that's the case, John Stones didn't leave it. He swung at it and clipped it and went up in the air for Wieser to head it into an empty net. But yeah, ultimately it's 3. Grealish is not piss poor, mate. You saw a different game then. I presume that's you responding to someone else, yeah. No, I agree. I don't think he was piss poor. But I do think he could do more in that second half. But I felt like there was moments where we needed him, man. There was possession-based football from Jack Grealish that I was pleased with. But yeah, no. Yeah, Flecken as well, IDK. Fucking sick of it, mate. Sick of it. Bloody Flecken. He's an absolute joke, isn't he? Like, he had a great game. Savinho as well should have scored. Should have scored in that situation. I would say that's a good save, but he should have scored. Even though it was a good save, he still should have scored, if that makes sense. Because it was a big outstretched right boot, but there was enough of the goal, and he was close enough to go to the goal, to go anywhere else and find the back of the net. You know, and it was a good save. But yeah, like I said, Savinho should have scored. But 3 points on the board is all that matters in these circumstances. And now we can enjoy our Sunday afternoon watching Arsenal sweating at playing Spurs tomorrow. And I mean, come on, Spurs, man, because what a weekend this could be if Liverpool and Arsenal both drop points. And Liverpool are fucking lost. They've lost. The Arnie Slot campaign is... That's what it is. Anyone who wasn't here for the watch along, this is now the fart gun, the Manchester City official coloured fart gun, thanks to my lad who has outgrown it. He's 7, and I've not outgrown this. Right in the mic. There you go. That was Liverpool summed up in a noise. That was encapsulated Liverpool. The whole of Liverpool, sorry. And all their people. Oh, buzzing. Blues. We're top of the league. Let's not get too down on it. It was a bit of a poor performance in the first half, but we won in the end, and I'm pleased that we won. And as the media always say, sign of champions. A side that plays badly and wins, and that's exactly what we've done. So let's take that. We go again. Got to do better against Inter. Definitely got to do better against Arsenal, and I think we will. Thank you very much for joining me in this match reaction, and thanks to all of you that joined me. It was a good turnout as well. Really enjoyed that in the watch along. Thanks to everyone who joined me in that as well. Brilliant. Take care, Blues. Player ratings in the morning as well. I'll try and get those out to you as quickly as I can, because there's going to be some up and down ratings for some of these players, because some did well, some didn't, to put it politely. But yeah, take care, Blues. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a good one.